Hello class, my name is RJ Williams and this is our Keen 580 critical assignment on aerobic exercise and its effects on depression. So a quick little introduction here. Depression is, as you know, is a widespread mental health issue that affects over 280 million people worldwide, and it often leads to persistent sadness, fatigue, and just a decline in overall well-being. And traditional treatments do include medication and therapy, which are the most commonly used, but they are not always the most accessible, and they're not usually preferred by individuals who want to seek other alternatives. So there has been research that has highlighted the positive effects of aerobic exercise on mental health, and it shows that regular physical activity can improve mood and emotional regulation. However, there is still some uncertainty regarding the best duration of exercise needed to achieve the best results. And this study focuses on comparing 15-minute and 30-minute low intensity aerobic exercise to determine whether longer durations provide greater relief from depression symptoms in adults with mild to moderate depression. So there have been studies before that support the link between aerobic exercise and improved mental health, and most fail to kind of specify the ideal exercise duration. One study done showed that a 30-minute session enhanced brain function related to emotional regulation, while another study done found that moderate aerobic exercise improved mood and cognitive flexibility. But there are still gaps remaining in understanding how different session lengths impact mental health outcomes. So this study aims to fill that gap by investigating whether longer exercise duration lead to a greater reduction in depressive symptoms. And we kind of came up with a hypothesis that participants who complete 30-minute sessions will experience more significant improvements compared to those who only engage in 15 minutes. So by clarifying this relationship, our research seeks to kind of establish aerobic exercise as a structured, non-medicinal strategy for managing depression.
Here are our methods. The study sample comprised of a total of 38 participants recruited based on enrollment in this research class at California Baptist University. This included 20 males and 18 females, providing a relatively balanced gender distribution which allowed for meaningful comparison between the two groups. The ages of these participants range from 21 to 53 years old. As for our inclusion criteria, participants in the study must be physically capable of engaging in low-intensity aerobic exercise. Exclusion criteria included severe depression, that of which is treatment-resistant or requiring intensive intervention, cardiovascular or musculoskeletal conditions that could hinder exercise. To protect the privacy and identity of the subjects in our study, we'll have them input all of their information, but instead of using their names, we'll have them use a subject number. Before starting the study, the participants will self-assess using a physical activity readiness questionnaire for any current health issues as well as problems that may occur. To collect the necessary data for our participants, we screened using the Beck Depression Inventory and the Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. Once eligibility is confirmed based off of those inventories, we will gather demographic information, including height, weight, age, and sex. Prior to and following the exercise intervention, the participants were to fill out the Beck Depression Inventory, or the BDI. This allowed us to measure the depression levels of the participants both before and after the exercise regimen. Regarding the procedural controls, we standardized the exercise regimen by ensuring that the participants received the same intensity, frequency, and duration of exercise sessions. They were instructed to engage in exercise at the same time every day. We also instructed them to maintain their usual diet and daily routines outside of scheduled sessions to reduce the introduction of any confounding variables. To assess the depression symptoms in the participants, we used the Beck Depression Inventory, which is a self-reporting questionnaire. According to Hailu Gibri, it is one of the most widely used self-reporting instruments to measure the symptoms, attitudes, and characteristics of those with depression symptoms. It includes 20 multiple-choice questions, each corresponding to a specific symptom of depression, with scores indicating the severity of depression. It is also considered highly valid and reliable. Many studies have shown its validity and reliability among various populations and studies. As far as our study went, participants were to engage in a low-intensity outdoor walk for either 15 or 30 minutes at a time that was convenient for them. This walk duration was assigned based on their number selection. Even numbers were to be a 15-minute walk, odd numbers were going to be a 30-minute walk. There was no specific time for the walks to happen, but it was recommended to be consistent each day of the walk. Before beginning the exercise intervention, participants were to complete the Beck Depression Inventory and record their total score in the pre-treatment column. They were also to complete the PAR-Q. After completing all of the assigned exercises, participants were to fill out the Beck Depression Inventory again and record their total score in the post-treatment column. For our data analysis, we used a paired sample t-test to compare the pre- and post-intervention depression scores. This statistical test allowed us to compare the depression scores of the participants before and after the aerobic exercise intervention, effectively measuring any change in the levels of the depression symptoms of each participant. Results of the analyzed data showed whether the aerobic exercise had an effect on and reduced depression symptoms. According to our data, we did find that there was a statistical significant difference in the pre- and post-intervention scores. We also made sure that this was a controlled exercise intervention to ensure consistent treatment exposure. As far as ethical considerations go, one ethical issue that could have arisen is that the personal information of the participants may be leaked. To keep this from happening, the research data was collected anonymously. Also, the numbers would be used in place of names for the participants. We also made sure to screen for potential health risks to ensure participants.
Here are the results of our research. For the 15-minute exercise group, we ended up with 13 participants. They all took the Beck Depression Inventory test before exercising at the beginning of the week, and they also took the scores at the end of the week after performing their exercises 3 times in that week. Their scores are posted right here on the right, and as you can see, there's a wide range of scores. However, the changes from pre to post was consistent. Each participant dropped their BDI score at least 1 point at the end of the treatment with an average change of 1.077 points. After doing a paired t-test and finding our values, we found a t-test score of 14 points, which is abnormal, but does show significance. After that, we found our p-value score, which is a number well below 0.05. And since it's below 0.05, that means that our findings are extremely significant. As for the 30-minute treatment, we were able to get 9 participants in this group, and as you can see on the far right, their scores. You can see all but one participant had a shown reduction. Also with this group, you can see that there's a variation of scores, change in scores in terms of how much change. As you can see, there's a score of 4, there's a score of 0, and a couple 1s and 2s. So you can see that there's no consistency when it comes to the results. However, the average score change was 1.444, which is pretty close to the 15-minute trial score. And also along with that, after our analysis, we found that the t-score that we got was a 4.27 and a p-value of 0.0049, which is less significant than the 15-minute trial, but still very significant in an overall score. On this slide, we'll see the differences, but mainly the similarities in results from the test. On the left, you'll see figure 1. Figure 1 will have the average scores of the 15-minute walking group, and on the right, on figure 2, you'll see the average scores of the 30-minute walking group. On both slides, you'll see the blue pillar. The blue pillar is the pre-treatment scores, and the orange and gray pillars are the post-treatment scores. In both figures, you can see that the average post-treatment scores are lower than the pre-treatment scores, which we can conclude that there's a positive effect from this, and that both treatments can claim a change did happen from the results.
Hello everyone, my name's Oscar Gonzalez, and my part was to talk about the study purpose and key findings of our research. And in this study, we explored how outdoor walking influences depression with a focus on measuring changes using the BDI, which is the Beck Depression Inventory. And our goal was to compare 2 different types of walks. We were comparing the effects of a 15-minute walk versus a 30-minute walk, and to see how much each affected depressive symptoms. Our key findings revealed statistically significant differences in depression levels. Specifically, both groups experienced benefits. The 30-minute walking group showed a greater variance in scores. This increased variability resulted in a higher standard error and consequently a lower t-statistic. These results suggest that the longer duration may involve more individual differences or external factors that influence the outcomes. In the next slide, we're going to explore how our studies align with previous research. So we were comparing and compare and contrast past studies. So several studies have demonstrated that even a small amount of walking and exercise can provide both psychological and physiological benefits. This supports the idea that physical activity, regardless of duration, can contribute positively to overall well-being. Additionally, according to research, it has shown that 30-minute walks are particularly effective, yielding greater improvements in metabolic and cardiovascular markers. This reinforces the benefits of a slightly longer walking duration. Moreover, the positive effects of exercise on depression symptoms have been well documented, providing evidence that physical activity can significantly alleviate depressive conditions. Our study focuses on short-term interventions. We just did it for 1 week, which contrasts with many of other studies which were more long-term. Yet, even though we just did 1 week and other research were longer, our findings still align and they're similar. According to research in 2021 by Oberste, suggests that even a single aerobic session, just one, can impact mood. In summary, our study not only confirms the beneficial effects of walking on both physical and mental health, but also contributes to the understanding that even brief periods of exercise can make a meaningful difference. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Luis Silva, and this is my section of our group project, which is going to be covering the discussion and the conclusion. And this first slide is going to be the mechanisms at play involve neurotransmitters regarding our research project. And the walking that our research project had people do, it increases endorphins, which are mood-boosting chemicals released by the pituitary gland and hypothalamus in the brain. And the endorphins that are released lower stress and enhance one's sense of well-being and overall mood. It uplifts one's overall mood, essentially. And the endorphins that are released are serotonin, which is the feel-good chemical, norepinephrine, which plays a crucial role in the fight or flight response, and dopamine, which is the happy chemical. And these all promote relaxation, they reduce stress, and also help to naturally improve one's mood, as previously mentioned, concentration and cognition, functional cognition of the brain. So essentially, everything that we want in a person, it's going to uplift them positively. And serotonin and norepinephrine work great together. It helps combat depressive episodes. They also play a crucial role in boosting energy and alertness as well. And when an individual is engaged in exercise, the dopamine tells the brain that this is actually an enjoyable activity. And this is a little picture of the happy brain chemicals: is dopamine, serotonin, and then there's the other endorphins as well. So let's continue. And then the mechanisms at play include distraction in outdoor setting. So walking creates a distraction, shifting focus away from negative thoughts that feed depression. in the outdoor setting also contributed as exposure to natural elements and sunlight have been linked to improving one's mental health and overall well-being. And I have a personal connection related to this, so I'm going to tell a little spiel real quick. So every time after I work out, I try to do at least 10 minutes of walking on the treadmill. But because of this class and this research project, I have a few trails near my house, so instead of walking on the treadmill inside, I've been walking outside and being exposed to the sunlight. And instead of walking for 10 minutes that I usually do on the treadmill, I find myself walking for 20, 25, 30 minutes, and I don't even realize I've been out that long. It just feels so much better to be outside in the natural elements and everything. And I do feel a difference, honestly, in my mood. I feel a lot better. And so that's a little personal take that I have. So I think I'm going to keep walking. I do prefer to walk outside now compared to walking on the treadmill inside after my workout. If I have time, I'm definitely going to take the time to walk outside instead of the treadmill because I've been seeing a difference in me for sure. So yeah. And then, so the conclusion, there are several limitations of our research efforts, and these include the sample size. The sample size was small, only 13 participants in the 15-minute group and 9 in the 30-minute group. It would be better, and we would have better results if the group was larger, but due to this being class, we had to work what we were given. So, and the variability in individual responses to exercise potential confounding factors that include lifestyle, diet, or external stressors, and differences in initial depression severity may have influenced the results. So there are plenty of other factors that we didn't include in this research effort. But if we were to do it again, we definitely would like to have that given the time and the resources available to us. We would love to do that. I would like to know personally, honestly. And this study did not consider other external influences that may have contributed to mood changes. Yeah, see, and also a lack of a control group further complicates interpretation. So basically, it was just a smaller sample size, essentially. Recommendations. So further analysis, including exact p-value calculations, is needed to clarify whether short or longer walking durations provide a meaningful reduction in depressive symptoms. So yeah. Uh, Future research with larger sample sizes and controlled conditions is recommended to better understand the impact of aerobic exercise on depression symptoms. Future research should explore whether participant characteristics such as a baseline fitness level or walking pace contribute to variations such as those in this study and how they might influence the comparative efficacy of different walking durations. So there's plenty more that could be done given the correct amount of time and resources. But again, due to this being the class and the sample size being as small as it is, we weren't able to do what we could have done to have a better interpretation of the research and what the study revealed. So the conclusion. So this low intensity walking is greatly associated with a reduction in depression symptoms. So it's recommended that 15-minute, 3 times a week can have a positive impact on depressive symptoms. And just like my personal story, I agree with this. I do feel a lot better. I do feel more happy and less sad to be in, say, in layman's terms, walking outdoors for sure, definitely. I love being outdoors. Have the wind and you hear the birds chirping and everything. It's just so much nicer than walking on treadmill inside with the lame gym music that they usually have going on. And both 15 and 30-minute walking interventions had a reduction in Beck Depression Inventory or the BDI scores. So it seemed like whether you took the 15-minute or 30-minute walk, the BDI scores were lowered after taking the walk. And that's good. That's a good sign. We want that to be low. Engaging in low intensity walking most likely triggered the release and increase of neurotransmitters, resulting in the participants feeling more mentally healthy, which led to the reduction in BDI scores. Exactly. Low intensity aerobic exercise may be dose dependent, meaning that longer walks as compared to shorter walks might have a greater impact on depression symptoms. And like I said in my personal spiel, I usually walk 10 minutes on the treadmill at the gym. But when I'm walking outside, I lose track of the time and it just feels good, you know. And then if you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave a comment.